Hi, I'm Sarah. We have already set our intentions and our prayers for this session, so enjoy and learn.
Hello, Bill.
Hello. How are you this day?
Excellent,
Excellent,
perfect,
excellent,
wonderful,
excellent,
excited,
excellent, excellent,
and we are excellent as well,
excellent.
just as you are.
Yay! I have 60 questions. It's been a while.
Not that long, a
Yes,
while.
it has. Between weekly sessions, I can collect about 20 questions.
Shoot.
Okay, the first one. Back in session 16, the visitor talked about the non-human power source at Skinwalker Ranch and that it was for non-human ships and equipment. Are there other such power stations around the Earth?
Yes. Now and have been for millennia. Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to ask where, because, well, yeah, where? That'll help.
I think you're pretty much familiar with ones like Sedona. There's one in the Ukraine area, Central Eurasia.
That would
there.
explain a lot, because there's been a lot of reports of UFOs in Ukraine lately.
Well, of course, with the war going on,
Yeah.
that contributes as well. But yes, Turkey. Of course, the pyramids of Egypt, which humans have yet to figure out what they're about, which is fine. Antarctica has one. Where else? Is that Sedona? Sometimes it works out that when there's a grouping of like-minded humans coming together and meditating together, focusing on things like, the health of Gaia, love going out to the world to lift humanity's frequencies. Sorry.
It's okay.
And sometimes when that happens, that's one reason Sedona became, it kind of worked together. There's a portal at Sedona. There is higher frequencies, like crazy, in Sedona. And because of people sensing that, then more and more people grouping together, and they're increasing the frequencies and the sensitivities. They're building on what was there, and then it builds and builds, and it's amazing. What was the question? Oh, no, never mind. I know, I was just pulling your leg.
So, you had mentioned that there are when there's a gathering of people, things like that become activated. What about Stephen Greer's CE5 group?
That's more focused on extraterrestrial phenomena, shall we say. But it likewise creates their group frequencies and the group dynamic and their focus and their desires. It does. It increases things, allows more to happen, shall we say.
Okay.
It does attract the higher frequencies, attract some extraterrestrials, certain ones that are in tune to, in tune enough with Earth to notice when it happens, and they want to go and help, so to speak.
Second question. Back in session 16, the visitor mentioned that the energy source at the triangle on Skinwalker Ranch is used by the non-humans for communication. Is the frequency of 1.6 gigahertz used by equipment for this communication, or is this frequency of the non-humans' mental connection?
A little of both, but mostly the frequency of and for the equipment that is protected there. In fact, it helps in the protection of the equipment, which is one reason it keeps showing up, and it's confounding the team there because they know something's there and they can't figure it out. And that frequency can affect persons who are humans who are sensitive to that frequency. Not so much animals. Different frequencies can affect animals, but again, it's not all animals about this frequency or that frequency. Is different, just like humans. Some are sensitive, some are not as sensitive.
Okay. In one of the last episodes of Skinwalker Ranch, the team there theorized that there is a hyperbolic energy source at the triangle, kind of like what they described as a wormhole. Does that make any sense to you? Hyperbolic meaning like two funnels stuck together with the small ends touching.
I know what you meant by
Okay.
that. She didn't, but so thank you for the explanation. There might be others viewing this who would not understand what that is. But it isn't.
Just a simple yes or no, or maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, that's good
Or
enough.
sometimes.
And sometimes not, huh?
Right. Well, the wormholes can move around, and sometimes they touch, sometimes they don't.
How do wormholes interact with our reality? Can we visibly see them?
Some people can.
So
Some-
they're not physically seeing them, they are
It's more their inner senses, yes.
kind of the same with portals then.
But the wormholes and the portals are part of your reality. They exist in your reality, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I guess the question really is how, a lot of people say I'll believe it when I see it.
Oh,
And they don't see it, so they don't believe it.
right.
That was
Until it smacks them in the face.
where they fall through it.
That too.
Back in session 16,
Another Skinwalker Ranch
Yes.
question.
the visitor talked about the frequencies at the triangle. Does the frequencies and the power generated there assist the non-humans in their travels between their dimension and ours?
Not necessarily that specific.
Okay, thank you. At the beginning of the last session, you had open eyes. When asked why, you replied that you have been looking forward to the session. Why?
Why not?
Okay.
In general, we all look forward to a session, any session.
So not specifically here. Could be anybody.
Right.
Okay.
But the session you're speaking of, there was one intelligence, shall we say, who was specifically looking forward to that session for whatever would come out of it. And then it's kind of like ectoplasm coming forth and with a big grin or whatever, and then going back. And I don't know how else to describe it to you.
So did that entity, that intelligence, did they have the desired effect that they wanted?
They wanted, they enjoyed whatever was brought out, and were thankful to be more directly a part of it.
Okay.
And now they are not necessarily that directly involved.
Okay. How many are with the team today?
A multitude. It depends. There are 3 distinct beings, but as you know, everything is connected. We're all connected, and so there are others, a multitude who can, like that last session, when one individual who isn't normally part of these particular sessions, one wanted to take part in the last session and was appreciative of the opportunity, and now that's what I meant by ectoplasm going.
They're gone then.
Well,
Not completely.
yes and
but-
no. The connection is always there with everyone and everything. But there are usually I can't really put a number on it, more than 20, I think, that are readily available to answer anything or to get an answer from someone else. That's really not how it works, but that's the way humans will understand it. But there are 3 main ones who are focused on this session.
So you do the same 3 energies, or what main ones, whatever, or any of the group visit other channelers on the planet?
If it is, how do I say it? If it is part of the plan.
In the last session, you talked about leaning on our guides, about us leaning on our guides, not only for enlightenment issues, but also for increases in energy. How does that work from the human viewpoint? In other words, how do we do that? We just meditate and ask for an increase of energy? Or?
Ask. If you feel you need more energy, ask. If you want a parking space, ask.
I do ask for parking spaces.
Well, then, it's the same principle.
Okay.
It's like when you meditate and you ask for only higher frequency beings to be part of the meditation and protect you from lower frequency interruptions, shall we say. Same thing. It's always energy, interconnection, and you just ask.
In the last session, when I asked if you could say 2 different words simultaneously, you said that Sarah's speech abilities are not up to that. Can they be with guidance and assistance from you and her guides?
Probably not. Why would you want to say 2 words at the same time?
Just curious.
But human beings' physiology is not capable of such a thing.
Okay. I was just curious, that's all. In the last session, you said that consciousness thinks it is a rock and it becomes a rock. Can you go into more detail, please?
What more detail do you need? Consciousness is creation. thoughts create. Rocks, supernovas, stars, planets, the ground, your body, a chair. You do realize that humanity has co-created this reality that you experience. And it's continuous. So if there's a bit of consciousness somewhere wants to be a rock, then they're a rock. Because maybe they need to be there for somebody to trip and fall and hurt themselves, because that might be part of their individual plan. They need that. Or maybe the rock just wants to be there and sit in the sun and get warm. Consciousness creates.
So, there's been a uptick of interest in UFOs lately. How do UFOs integrate or work with our consciousness that we use to create this reality? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but it's the same answer. Consciousness creates.
So the aliens and UFOs are created by themselves?
Well, they
create them and then we intertwine with them? Or how does all that work?
kind of, sort of. In your reality, you have co-created UFOs, UAPs, aliens from other planets. They are part of the entire co-creation. And if any of them travel here, that's part of the co-creation. Not just of humans on Gaia, but the entire, well, I'll limit it to the galaxy. Does include the universe, but your scientists and experts who are interested and comment on the UAP phenomena or phenomenon. Grammar doesn't really matter. Recognize that in the Milky Way galaxy there is a community of intellectual beings. And we'll leave it at that. I mean, again, it's the co-creation. It's consciousness creates. It's source. It all comes from source. Source wants to experience, whether it's the minutiae of UAPs being seen or the entire universe. Source creates intelligence. Intelligence creates, co-creates other things. I could go on and on and on and just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Does it answer your question?
I do not know that answer.
Ah!
I don't know if it answers my question. Because you left a lot of room for other questions in your answer.
Well, okay, fine.
So,
All right.
let's
Next.
leave it at that. Should we be afraid of UFOs and aliens? We as a human population on this earth?
Human beings, individual human beings, need to be discerning. And I know that's difficult right now because each individual human being on this planet do not have enough information to be discerning, truly discerning. However, generally speaking, No one should say they're all friendly or they're all alien, they're all mean, they want to take us over, they're going to harm us, or no, they're here to help us not destroy ourselves, blah blah blah. Just like human beings vary in their temperaments, their desires, their goals, so do other beings.
How do we increase our discernment so we can tell the difference?
It will help a lot when the powers that be are even more forthcoming. Then individuals can start to make their own decisions whether this race or even this particular being is friend or foe. But a little bit of knowledge here is a little bit of knowledge gained in individuals. And as more knowledge comes in, the individuals can, it's like anything else. You get to know a human being and a fellow human being, and you can be discerning as to, by reading about body language. That's information, that's data. You can see into their eyes. That's data coming into your consciousness as to whether or not, and I'm simplifying, but as to whether or not you want to continue associating with this person or not. It's the same with extraterrestrials and the UFO phenomenon and all those things. The more little increments of knowledge you get, the more discernment you can develop. And it is up to individuals. So it's just basic common sense, which isn't common, for, just don't go overboard either way. Like, oh, she just showed me a picture of, in a movie, not sure what movie it was, but people were gathered on rooftops with signs saying, come get me, kind of a thing.
That was Independence Day.
Ah, well, whatever. And those people were just like, they were not discerning. They were just, this is my, they were going overboard that way. And not in the movie, but in governments, all these decades, governments have been withholding information because they went the other way. Fearful of being taken over, fearful that it's a military, it's not the word I want.
A commercial?
No.
A collective?
No, you're going the wrong direction. But that the existence of intelligent beings and their craft being more technologically advanced is a threat to the earth, to the populace, to the country. Each country is saying, there is a word for it, but, but anyway, so like the United States, it's a threat. The military has to know about it. We need to find out how to defend ourselves against all of this stuff. They are military leadership assume that other life forms other than human, intelligent, conscious life forms other than human beings are a threat, are going to be harmful. National security, that's the phrase. Okay. And each country has that fear. National security, we must defend ourselves. And they've gone the opposite way. So as information starts coming out, which is happening gradually, but it's happening more now than it has in the past. That as this information comes out, the average human being watching this stuff can make the choice to be fearful and hide and, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Or, oh yay, they're coming, they're our friends, they're going to take care of us, yada yada. The discernment comes in to know which is which and how much of each and what to, but each individual human being has to make that decision themselves, for themselves.
So in other words, we need to become cautious, but not overly so.
Caution is good, yes, but not extreme.
Yes.
And not
Okay.
extreme the other way by throwing caution to the wind.
Oh no, don't want to do that.
Yeah. Okay, that was a lot of verbiage.
Wordage. I love it. In the last session, you said that these visitations with Sarah are enjoyable to you folks. Do you ever do anything that is not enjoyable? And if so, give some examples, please.
Basically, most beings who are non-corporeal find enjoyment in many things. The issues come about when when one of them decides to become 3D, as you say, third dimension. Then there can be some issues in enjoyment or non-enjoyment. But basically, this kind of communication is what you could call enjoyable. Whether it's the Z's or Theo, those, or Abraham, trying to think of if there's any other, anyway, they might not express it that way because they are so far above that, whether something is enjoyable or not. But if directly asked, do you enjoy doing this? They would probably answer that they have messages, serious messages to get across to all of humanity. And they would not classify it as enjoyable per se. They would probably classify it as necessary, as their jobs, so to speak, to impart this information. And it's good that they do that. But the extremes of whether it's enjoyable or, joy, is an emotion. I can't think, what would be the opposite of joy?
Enjoy.
Unjoy. Disjoy. Anyway.
I don't know. We're not, Sarah and I generally are not unjoyful.
Oh, I'm sure there's terminology somewhere.
There
but
is, but we're not familiar
you
with
get
it.
the point that the higher beings find their own personal enjoyment in fulfilling their purpose.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay. Now, we are definitely not to that point frequency-wise. So we can have a sense of humor. We can laugh. We can enjoy.
Do you have any messages as a group that you want to convey to mankind? You opened that question up. That was never even on my list.
But that's a good question. And of course we do. For humanity, we've done this before. For each individual to learn to love themselves. Love yourself. Start by forgiving yourself. Do not carry guilt, because you as a person are changing every moment of every second of every minute of every time. You're constantly changing. You're never the same person from one nanosecond to the next. So whatever you are feeling guilty about, it no longer applies to you. If you feel the need to make reparation, that's a good thing. And if it doesn't work out, and you know you've done your best, that's a good thing. Move on. Forgive yourself. Love yourself.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can explain it any better, so you're welcome. That's a good place to start every morning. Forgive yourself, love yourself, and move on.